Good morning, everybody.
Well, did what you wanted to do, got everyone's attention.
So welcome to the second day of council. We're going to have some really great talks this morning. I think yesterday was an amazing day. Again, I want to thank all my staff who presented their concept clearances. Everyone was done to the umpteenth degree and just done really well. It was really terrific, and I want to express my apologies that I'm going to have to leave after Gwen's talk because my husband has some surgery this morning, so I'll be able to hear Gwen, but unfortunately, I'll miss David and Christine and Mamta, which is too bad. But you're going to have some good talks about developmental neurotox models and communications and exposomics or metabolomics or the whole kit and caboodle. So Gwen will take over now.
Oops. Good morning, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Okay, great. All right, let me get organized here. Okay, so I have a few staff changes to talk about, and then also we're going to talk about what I think are important areas, our training program, T32 Training Program, and then also we want to have a discussion about our funding strategies and Payline decisions. And then if we have time, we're going to break then and have a group discussion about those two issues. And then if we have time, I'll go through some other highlights of how my staff and all of us have been very busy over the summer since the last council meeting. Okay, which of these things work? None. Okay, there we go. Didn't press it hard enough. Okay, so first I want to welcome a new member of the Program Analysis Branch. Arsha Gurbani has joined us as a Presidential Management Fellow of the class of 2021. She has come recently from CDC, where she was an ORISE Fellow. She did her training in health communications at UNC, so she's coming back home to join us. She will work, her work will focus on IT project and contract management. We have several IT tools that we use for very important functions, and she's going to learn all about those and help us manage those. And then she'll also be involved in a variety of evaluation and program analysis activities. So we welcome Arsha. Oh, there she is, sitting over there. Okay, and then I have to say goodbye to somebody. So sad. Simha's, I think, on the phone, so hopefully she's there listening. So Simha joined at DERT in 2011, and Simha came with just a wide range of experience as a medical anthropologist. Before she came to DERT, she was a AAAS fellow in the Office of the Director at NIH, and she worked on some work in genomics and data sharing and policy work related to that. She had extensive experience engaging disease advocacy groups, but she had not had much exposure to environmental health. But she had a lot of passion and a lot of experience, and we brought her on board, and boy, the learning curve was quick. She really mastered all of what NAEHS is about with regard to social sciences, about community engagement, environmental justice. She was really responsible for promoting and valuing the role of social scientists within our program. She took it on herself to really explore the tribal connections and really pushed all of us to really appreciate the environmental hazards that the tribal communities were facing, engaged with them very broadly, was also very influential, I think, in her engagement with the NIH tribal office, and has worked very closely with David Wilson, who heads that office, on meetings and also really just to get folks at NIH and across this nation to really understand how the important cultural aspects of the tribal communities really value the environment and incorporate that into the many practices that they have. So I know she and Linda went on a number of visits to Indian country and has worked really closely with many of our centers where they have connections, either doing research or outreach, dialogue, engagement. So we're really proud of that work. And I say, you know, in the 10 years that she's been with us, we really were not in that space before she came here. And it's really because of her work that I think are very well embedded in that space right now. So when she came, there was a lot of discussion about health literacy as a field and a topic. Many of our sister institutes had embraced health literacy, especially the NCI. And Simha worked with them and learned a lot about that field and about the power of communication research and dissemination, implementation science. And she and Liam took on the challenge to define the field of environmental health literacy through convenings and PEPH and different meetings and all. She really tried to stimulate the thinking around taking those principles of health literacy and creating this sort of subdiscipline of environmental health literacy. She was asked with Liam to co-edit a book, and she encouraged participation by many of the folks in the field. And it had a very theoretical basis. It wasn't just a collection of people's research and papers out there, but really to define the concepts and build the field and talk about methods. And really, I think this work has a real lasting place in our discipline. It's become a very important part of the work that our engagement cores, and you know, of course, we try to bring it into the picture every time we can. So I think that's a fantastic accomplishment. So she also promoted incorporating social and behavioral sciences all the way through our EHS work. I know she encouraged me to attend a meeting that Phil Brown had where he was bringing folks together sort of under this umbrella. And, you know, at the beginning I was like, I don't know about this. I don't know what we're going to talk about. I was open to it, of course, but I just couldn't figure out the place. And she spent a lot of time mentoring me and sitting and working with me and bringing me up to speed and helped me give that presentation. I learned a lot from that meeting, and then she and I wrote a paper that went into a special edition after that meeting. So she's really championed quite a lot of these collaborations. She's been a very important member of the coordinating committee for OBSSR. That's the Office of Behavioral and Social Science Research. Every time they have a research day, Simha was right there with Liam and others, creating a giant poster of our many activities, and she's always working well with them, asking them to co-fund and co-support many of the things that she has built in our portfolio. So I wish Simha was here so we could say goodbye as a group, but unfortunately Hurricane Dorian got in the way last week, and you know, she lives in Central Florida now, so it turned out not to be a great time for her to come. But you know, we created a small montage of her different activities, everything from working with the tribal communities, the book that she's, the methodologies here is in one of the graphics from the work on environmental health literacy. This is from a concept you guys might remember that she did with Michelle on aging and telomeres and climate changes in the aging. So there's, you know, a lot. Her reach is broad, and this is, I think, an especially nice picture. Steve Wing, some of you remember, was at UNC and did a lot of work in the environmental justice related to the hog farming here in North Carolina, and his work was under attack by industry, et cetera. It was, but Simha and he forged a strong friendship, and I think they were influential in each other's path, and so it's nice to remember both him and to say thank you to Simha for work in these areas. So anyway, I'll just close by saying that I think Simha has had a huge impact on the field of environmental health. She certainly has had a big impact on us as a division and us as an institute, and we will very much miss her, and we thank her very much for her years of service and all the work that she has done. Okay, so now to move on to the T32 program. So I want to just remind us all about what our T32 program is about and how we have structured it, and talk about why we would like to discuss this right now. So we are planning to do an evaluation of the program, and I'll give you a little bit of background about why we want to go there. So recently, the PAB group and Sarah Lugin-Bull has created a several-page document, like a flyer, that sort of summarizes, and I think if you don't have it at your table, it's definitely in the ECB, that gives you just a sort of a snapshot of what Career Track has told us. So Career Track, Linda mentioned it yesterday, and many of you are aware of it. Career Track is a database where our training directors enter information about their trainees. And it goes beyond the data set that the NIH requires the training directors to use, much more in-depth data about the training experience as well as the post-training outcomes. And so we have looked at this many times over the years to see how many trainees we have and the kinds of things that they did and are doing now. And we think it's a humongous resource for us and a really important system that we have built. And as Linda said yesterday, several other ICs have their training data in there too, and this was a collaboration with the Fogarty Institute when it got started. So the purpose of the training grants, the T32s, I think most of you in the room are familiar with that. It's the Ruth Kirstein National Research Service Award. It's probably the single largest mechanism that the NIH uses for training for pre-docs and postdocs, and it's really direct support for people during their careers. Gives them stipend, although at times not necessarily a very big stipend, although it's now increasing over time. It helps to focus people's research in different program areas that institutes have. I was a T32 trainee when I was a pre-doc, and it was really important for me. And I know when we speak to our trainees, they are so grateful for the support and really feel how that being on a training grant really helps them in many aspects of their career. So I won't go through all the details of this, but you can read what the program is meant to be. We've had a training program for many, many years. We're only going to go to sort of give you a snapshot back to the early 90s. Each year we support anywhere between 350 and 480 trainees. That's a lot of trainees. We have approximately 50 programs at any one time, and they cover a number of discipline areas. It's primarily a pre-doc program, and some centers are only postdoc, some are pre-doc and postdoc, and I think maybe we have a few that are only pre-doc. And the cohort each year is about 100 or 125 pre-docs and about 50 new postdocs every year. So it's a pretty robust program. So a lot of trainees that have been trained on the NAEHS T32 programs over the years. This gives you a snapshot of the numbers of programs and the funding for the programs. It's been relatively stable since 2008. This very high green bar here, some of you training directors may remember there was a mandate to increase the stipends, and then we went ahead and we adjusted stipends through supplements or giving more money at the time of award. So there's a big bump up here, and then we sort of go back to a steady state, trying to. We've grown the amount of training programs, over time, but in the last number of years, we've kept that pot of money rather stable. Okay, so this just shows us in all the different colors, the different disciplines that are actively part of our 50 training programs. So this over here is the PreDoc appointments, and you can see the majority of them are toxicology, chemistry, pharmacology, in departments that span those areas. We do have public health, environmental health training programs, and you can see that we have had more of those as time has gone on. Either programs that were traditionally toxicology have added some public health to their programs, or we have had new programs come in that have a more public health and environmental health focus. Same is true here for the toxicology sort of goes up and a little bit down, maybe not. It depends how you look at that trend. A steady base of postdocs in toxicology-related fields. But I think it's hard to measure this directly, but I think the public health, environmental health postdoc part has grown more over time, and right now there's a good number of postdocs that are in the fields of epidemiology, environmental health, and other public health disciplines. So Career Track allows us to ask the trainees for what they consider their field of training. And NIH's database only collects one field, so you have to pick for the NIH training, but the Career Track really allows us to go deeper. We ask about up to 6 scientific and technical emphasis areas per trainee, so it allows us to be a little bit more granular into what kinds of training our postdocs are getting. So you can see the majority is toxicology, which matches the graphs, but the subdisciplines really reflect the breadth of what we support in our research portfolio and what we know to be the aspects of environmental health sciences. And within the discipline of toxicology, we can drill down and look at the different types of toxicology, reproductive toxicology, neuro, there's a lot of liver work, and then, all the rest of the diseases and aspects, endocrine disruptors, signal transduction, pulmonary, developmental DOHAD. So, people are defining their training areas in many ways, but our Career Track database allows us to capture all of that. So where do our trainees go after they finish training? Most trainees are employed in academia and industry, and there's an emphasis on research. 64% of those in industry are in research positions, which is great, and also 77% of those in academia are also in research positions. So, we have a strong focus on research, and we connect our trainees to active research projects, and of course our postdocs are expected to carry out research and make that transition from mentor to independent. And so it's nice to see that our Career Track reflects that. So this is for academic trainees. You can see that the majority of them, their career are not in a tenure track position. There's not that many tenure track positions. They're very competitive, but we do have, a good number of them here, I think. And then, of course, as time goes on, we hope that there'll be new positions and that our trainees will be very competitive and be able to secure those positions. So this is, so if you're in a research position in academia, one of the goals of your career are to get grants to do your research, and so we were able to track that as well. So this is the subsequent grants and awards that have been made from the pool of trainees that have gone into academia. Okay, so you can see the numbers. The total number of applicants is the top number and the bottom number combined. You can see that over time we have a larger and larger pool of people applying, and I think they're doing well, right? So 20% award rate, maybe a little bit higher here in 2015, but quite well represented within the NAEHS portfolio. And of course, our ONES program, which really targets early stage career investigators, many of them we see applying have come through our T32 program. When they are established as a new faculty member, they can apply for their first R01 this way. So 63 awardees over the tenure of the ONES program. 29% of them had received T32s during their career. And then the average number of years from the first T32 appointment to when they get their ONES award is about 10 years. which, makes sense. If they were a pre-doc, then that makes total sense. Okay, and then these are the institutes at NIH that are supporting our faculty that come from our training program. Of course, the majority of them are getting from their home institute, so that, we've created an identity and an understanding. I think that, we do a lot of mentoring and grantsmanship workshops around the country and at special meetings. We offer the resource room at SOT and at some of the other meetings. So our trainees do come and talk to us and ask us for advice and assistance in submission of the grants. But it is very heartening to see that that there are other ICs that are interested in supporting work that dovetails in environmental health sciences, and that they are able to diversify their own personal portfolio and grow their research career with multiple streams of funding. Okay, so that's just a snapshot. There's many more ways to dig into the program. I didn't want to, belabor the issue at this point because, we have thought for many years about whether our T32 program is right-sized, is it the right amount of money, is the number of trainees correct? There's a huge push at the NIH every single year as our budget increases for more training and more training. I think we have a very large cohort of trainees every year. Is that the right approach for us to grow? And then when we grow, how should we grow? There's new fields that are emerging. We see some of those in our P30 centers emerging. We see some changes in curricula in some of our training programs. But if we want to look retrospectively to see where we've been, and then we want to maybe make some new recommendations or changes to the program into the future. So we're going to launch an evaluation, and those of you who've been on council for a while know that we do this, periodically for some of our large programs. So we want to understand how the training program can best support the research needs, currently and thinking into the future for environmental health sciences. And we want to ensure that the trainees receive the appropriate training to become the future career leaders in our field. We're going to take a two-stage approach. We're going to spend a significant amount of time designing, making sure we're able to, identify all the questions, look for gaps in our program, see how we want to organize the actual structure of the evaluation. And then, if we go deep into our data, it could take up to a year for us to complete all the analysis and put together a report and presentation. So the idea would be that, in the February 2021 council, we'd come back with the results of our evaluation, and if we are more rapid in completing that, we might be able to come to the September council in 2020. But it's exciting to embark on something like that. So our objectives for the first phase would be to identify those questions and really look at all the data resources that we have, and then also maybe set up some comparatives, not just looking at NAEHS data, but also selecting other training programs in the field for some comparatives, or other ICs in the training programs that some institutes that are of similar size or a similar interface with our discipline might have. And then create a logic model, which is what we use for most of our evaluations, so with both a retrospective and a prospective piece to that. We are going to have a grantee meeting in December for all of our T32 directors, and we would like to engage them in the design session. So hear from them what they think is working, what they think isn't working, ask them what kinds of questions they would like to see from the data, collective data. They probably know about some of the trends in their own universities, but this is an opportunity for them to help guide us and make sure that we cover and help prioritize some of these questions so that we spend our time wisely. We want to talk about how the program meets the needs of the grantees, or maybe sometimes doesn't, and what kinds of things we might want to consider. And we want to bring the assessment of current program topics and how they map to the current program in our portfolio, and sort of see where the gaps are and get input from our directors about those kinds of issues. So here's just a smattering of a variety of evaluation questions that we have, are just bannering about right now. We're interested in hearing from you what kinds of questions. I know in discussing this with Linda a couple of times, she keeps sending more questions that are of interest in general, things that we should consider in terms of outcomes to the program. So this is just a short list of those. And we welcome either through discussion today or by email at any time your thoughts on what kinds of questions we should ask. These are the folks in the division who have been actively involved in the T32 program and thinking about the evaluation, and this is the team that will go forward looking at data and creating our outcomes. Wondering if any of our council members would like to be involved with us, especially in the design phase. We have a way to work with council on evaluations and then on future opportunities where we build a little bit of a firewall so that you can be involved in discussions that help guide us, but then not be involved in discussions if we take the recommendations forward into a funding announcement phase. And so what are your questions for the T32 program? So just think about that while I talk about the next topic, and then we'll have a discussion about both of these. Okay, so many times, those of you who've been on council for a while, many times in my council presentations I come to you to tell you what it feels like to have to make the decisions about funding and all of the different factors that we weigh and we work on while we're considering how best to spend the money that we have in each appropriation. In some years it's very complicated because we have continuing resolutions and we have a late budget. In some years it's potentially simpler because we get a budget earlier, but the factors are still always at play. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of our paylines, or the goals we have when we set a payline, and then some of the realities of what we work with, and get your input on potentially a change to this approach. So for many, many years when I was in the extramural division, we actually didn't have an announced payline. We looked at the grants and we funded in order, and we had a lot of discussions about special area topics, and we just awarded. And at the end of the day, we said, oh, look, we funded to the such and such percentile. That must be our, it was like a retrospective announcement of what our payline was. And that was tough for the community because people would call us and say, well, what's your payline? Because the other ICs were very clearly communicating paylines so that they could look at a website and say, oh, I'm in or I'm out. And if I'm out, who do I have to talk to try to get in, right? So back in 2010, Linda suggested that we think about really codifying what our intentions were. And so after a couple of years of sort of estimating and working, as I said, and giving her the background of how we had been doing business, we decided to set a pay line in 2014 at 10th percentile. And we heavily advertised it. We put it up on our website. It was in almost every conversation we had with applicants. Linda went to SOT and in her director's remarks, told the community, this is where we are. But it doesn't mean that we will only fund grants up until the 10th percentile. We were saving some money to be able to consider special pays, or what we call here raise to pays. And we'll talk, I have a graph that shows you sort of how that has played out over the years. So that's been our strategy up to now. Back in the day when we didn't have an advertised pay line, I thought we had a very good comparison with other ICs. It looked, during different times, it looked like the other ICs were sort of restricting the key, this message, and that, some of the pay lines were low, 6th percentile, 7th percentile, 8th percentile. I mean, that's why applicants were calling us. Are you better? Can I be sure? Can I get my application assigned to NAEHS? Because I think you guys are at the 25th. And I'm like, well, we're not really there, but we're not as low as some of the larger ICs. Of course, large ICs, even when they have a low pay line, can fund a lot of grants because there's they get a lot of applications, and for every percentile point, the number of grants in that percentile, it way exceeds what was in our lineup. So we had some different flexibilities, but we are still playing within that, that framework of other ICs announcing. So we looked ad hoc at others. Oh yeah, we're doing better here. Our 10 percentile is fine. But when you see, we've now plotted the graph. We're a little lower than a lot of the ICs. And in the last number of years, as there have been increases to the Payline, increases to the NIH budget, ICs have gone in this very strict, in order mode, many of them, so that they've been able to improve their Payline. But in some cases, they have chosen to have less discretion to pick things up outside the Payline. Or the bar is higher for program staff to justify why something should be picked up higher than a Payline. Some ICs have a priority score cutoffs as well as Payline cutoffs. So we've always looked at the priority score, but we've never restricted our funding decisions based on priority score. So the one thing that I see in this graph that's different than our other IC partners here is that we are consistent, right? Our line is straight. There's no jumping around in terms of advertising and discussing our Payline intention. And I think that's helped the community some to understand, how to focus their work and what to expect. What this means is with an increasing budget at that level, we have more money to spend, and so we've been able to have a lot of more grants in the raise to pay, and I'll show you a little bit of that in this next slide. And so this raise to pay bar, you're going to see a bunch of graphs that look like this. We've tried hard to have more discretionary monies here. The blue here has been the amount of money that during our science planning activities during the year, and we decide which RFAs we're interested in doing or program announcements or whatever we want to do, that goes in that bucket. And then in the orange is what's sort of within the Payline. And for a long time, that was pretty stable. But I'll show you some other data that says it's different now. So here we go. We started in 2020. We sort of had this target on the earlier slide, sort of 25, 50, 25 maybe, or thereabouts. And in 2014, we were at 20% of our dollars solicited. We bumped up in 2015 with some really great ideas of programs we wanted to do. We stayed sort of between the 25 to 30 range. So in 2018, that was actually the most money we had put aside for funding announcements. And it's a combination, some of it is more funding announcements at a sort of similar size, and some of it is more money in each funding announcement. So depending on what we're trying to target, how much that science costs, how large we want a consortium or a group of grantees to be as an outcome, we have the flexibility to decide how much money should go in each of the funding announcements. So that leaves us, in this 70 to 80% range for our unsolicited, where we can make our choices based on Payline determinations. And this is where we've been with what is more sort of discretionary select pay, raise to pay. So not so much at the beginning, a lot more as time goes on. We see the value in that. This number here is really how it falls out at the 10th percentile. And we're not really in control of that. That's, study section determination and how they rank. But this is the number up to 10th percentile. So some years we've had a little bit more money or a little bit extra money, and if we didn't get a big increase, to choose more in the raise to pay area. So in 2018, we end up with, sort of, it's a declining trend, how much is here, because we have here. And then we end up with a lot of out-year commitments, right? So that's one thing, right? So every year you make a grant, you got 4 more years you got to pay, and the more numbers of unsolicited, of competings, and I have shown you that every February how many, when we try to grow that number, you get a lot of money in the next year that you're still committed to, and when you get a budget increase, well, it sounds like you have a lot more money to use, but you've already spent most of it. And so you still are constrained by, the new competing you have for the next year. In this last year, we have had a lot of grants that were in the 10th percentile, many more than we had had in the past. So we wanted to, live to our commitment, as we've told the community, 10 percentile. But it tied our hands because there was less money available for the raise to pay. It wasn't like our usual distribution. So we're happy about that, right? We want grants to be successful, but we also want the ability to be flexible and to pick science that meets the goals of our strategic plan in a creative way and go for opportunities. So, we've had a little bit of struggle with being able to implement that this year. So it begs the question, if we changed our Payline and announced it at a different level, and we started, let's say, at an 8th percentile instead of a 10th percentile for the next year, we would have more money to be in this discretionary range. Now, clearly, there would be here, this is if we did this a calculation for 2019, there would have been 17 fewer grants that would have sort of automatically been on the pay plan. But it may be more beneficial to be able to use the monies that's in this pot, 13% of the budget, in a strategic way to meet some of the goals that we have defined through our strategic plan and through other workshops and other topics that we've been on. So it would definitely have allowed us to be more intentional. And we have had internal discussion and debate and consideration. And so before making a decision about what to do, we decided we would come to you and get your input too and sort of bring that all back, so Linda can hear and to discuss later what we want to announce for the fiscal year 2020. Because we have not yet, we don't have a budget, that's one thing. So we don't have to have a strategy on our website yet until we have a budget. But we do have the September council round that you voted on yesterday. We are starting to tee up decisions about what we want to pay and what we want to do. So we do need to have a sort of a set pay line so that we can go through our process. Okay, so again, this just goes back to that graph. What would it look like if we went from a 10th percentile to an 8th percentile? And clearly in 2020, we would have more in this discretionary zone here. We're a little bit lower, but we're sort of in the range of where we had been in all of the other funding years. So it's not so drastic and radical. Okay, and that's my last slide for that topic. So I want to open the discussion up to get your opinions of what you've heard me talk about and give us some guidance as to where you think we should be considering as we move forward with both of these areas. And Linda wants to add something first.
Yeah, just one point of clarification. Grants that are within the pay line are not automatically funded. There are times where we'll make a decision that something within the pay line is not going to be funded, at least at that time. So they get top consideration, but occasionally something within the pay line does not get funded.
Thanks for that clarification. Okay, Lynn.
Well, I think I'll comment about the second thing first, since you've got the slide up. I think it's an interesting proposal. I would only comment that I do think that one unpredictable element of this is if you lower the pay line, that could cause a little bit of a shift in terms of the way applicants who feel like they have a choice of institutes to apply through, that if you have a lower pay line, it might shift some of the applications into other institutes. So then you might end up with a different denominator, if you may, But it makes sense to me, that you want to have at least enough room that you have the ability to be strategic about some of those funding decisions. So I think in principle that it makes sense. It's just if you're going to impact behavior on the other end that in a way that's hard to predict.
Sure. I would say that the intentionality of assignment is also related to established referral guidelines, and investigators do have the opportunity to request assignment at different institutes, but it's usually with discussion. Of course, people who have had a long funding history with NAEHS, it's more difficult to just shift because.
Yeah.
But I totally agree, and we do see this over time a lot. When the other ICs had tight pay lines, they were lining up asking if their work fit within our mission guidelines. So
Yeah.
we certainly know that for sure.
There's a certain amount of, you're right, it isn't completely elastic, but there's a certain amount of.
Yeah, no.
that.
People are shopping around to find the best home for their work, and this, the potential to be funded is certainly one of the criteria. Patrick?
So this is a very sensitive issue, obviously. I started by saying that 10% pay line is awful. It's not a good pay line, right? So if you had a 25% pay line, you drop it to 20, people would still be anxious, okay? But the feeling would be different. If you drop it from 10 to 8, it would create a lot of anxiety among the community. So whatever you do, you've got to be very thoughtful. The raise to pays that I've seen have done very thoughtfully. So kudos to the program directors at the NIHS. But if you decrease the pay line, even though your motivation is a good one, that you have more wherewithal to pay meritorious grants that fall outside your traditional pay line to support and so on. But it just becomes a little bit sort of like losing some transparency among people who don't get paid. So it's something that, that merits a lot more discussion. So even though your motivation is a noble one, and I have no doubt whatsoever, the program directors work really, really hard to pick out the really meritorious ones to support. As I said, the RTPs that I've seen are just done just beautifully.
Great,
Okay.
thank
A lot
you.
of thought has gone into it. Just this round, there are a couple without naming names and so on, obviously. That's not appropriate.
Yeah,
Okay, but the dropping pay line is something that
Yeah.
would create maybe a lot of criticism.
Sure. That's why we aren't just jumping in there and doing it. We're coming to talk about it. Other things are to consider too is, we could have different pay lines for different mechanisms. Some of the other ICs have a different strategy for career awards, for fellowships, and then some of them are on their website. If you're in this bucket, your grant RO3s, R21s, so all of that stuff is out there for your consideration. We had decided in the past to just have a single pay line for all of the RPG work, and we, of course, that we've been asked by NIH to look at the early stage investigators, all the way to the 25th, and then make choices within there. But other ICs have, they will go, let's say, if they have a 12th percentile pay line, they'll go to 14 if you're an ESI, in order, and then, special consideration, so.
But I'm at the risk of sounding grandstanding here. So Linda just said not all grants fall within the so-called pay line actually get paid. So is the point a little bit moot?
So we have the opportunity, and so I'll give you some situations where things might not get paid. So if we have a successful investigator who has been submitting many grants into the system, and more than one end up in a particular council round, or they had, in the previous council round, or that in that same fiscal year have received a very large grant, we sometimes will consider what to do. And we might defer that grant to be paid in a different fiscal year, or if it's similar in scope to what was already funded, we may pass over that at that time.
So what my point is that if you have that wherewithal anyhow, so doesn't that balance out, the need to draw pay line officially?
I'm not.
You know what I'm saying? So, okay, so if you make it very clear on the Institute website that it doesn't mean that if you get a 9%, you will get paid, because the additional considerations and so on, then wouldn't that make it unnecessary to go and drop the pay line further? You know what I'm driving at?
I have to think about that
So
some more. I'm not
for
so sure.
clarification, are you suggesting that we maybe use a more liberal skipping policy? Is that what you're saying, that it's functionally the same?
If you do make the determination at times that you have 2 grants from this guy or this person.
I mean, that's just one example. Another
I know.
set of
There are some
examples are
not fall within
not
the
so
purview.
much in
Right.
our referral guidelines, but,
Right, exactly. There are multiple
other
determinants, I'm
ICs
sure.
don't have a particular mechanism that we have.
It's pretty
not in
rare.
this- It's pretty
very
right.
rare, but we just reserve
Of course.
the
But
right
what I'm
to
saying,
do
what I'm
that.
suggesting is that make it less rare.
So,
That is an alternative
That's an alternative
approach.
strategy.
It would be a lot more work, and I think it would be much more confusing to the applicants.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, up until now, at least for the past 6 years or something, 5 or 6 years, if you scored 10th percentile or lower, unless there was something really egregious that made it inappropriate for us to fund, we funded it.
So I'm going to make a second Lynn and also Patrick. And I think having a steady pay line is actually a very comforting thing. It's almost like your storefront story. And it is important to sustain a community. So if you continue to drop that into 8%, it's almost like NCI. NCI has the luxury. New investigators avoid NCI. So this is what, I mean, but they are big, as you mentioned. So I think it is really important to give people a comfort zone that the pay line is at 10. And if you look at this distribution right now, you see that the solicited and also the raise to pay is close to 50%, or I mean, basically on your proposal 2020. So that means only 50% of them are truly based on like more traditional track of application, and that is usually the stable for any ICs. So I would hope that like it remains at about a 60% or roughly maybe even an upper 50% that are in the orange zone, that the 10 percentile is very important to sustain a community.
Yeah, I think we have struggled, and we've done it just sort of based, I'm showing you how it works out at the end of the year. We have a target in our head, and that 50 to 60% to spend the majority of our money through unsolicited to a pay line, and then use discretion for a smaller percentage of our dollars. Patrick?
Okay, so just a question in general. So when you do an RTP, is it paid for 5 years if it's an R1 and the full cost? Or you use your discretion to reduce the budget or number of years?
So we can use our discretion for any grants, and sometimes that conversation is part of the RTP. It depends what the score is, what the science is, where the summary statement has pointed out some weaknesses. But we don't have like an automatic, if you're in this group, you only get this many years. Some ICs have that.
Right, but there's some room to maneuver
There is.
within the realm. Is that you support things that are worthy of being supported, okay, but give the investigator a little bit, less
Yeah.
money or
Right.
fund 3 years instead of
Sure.
5 and so on. Then you can fund more RTPs. If the grant is meritorious, next time when it comes up for renewal, it's going to be very strong.
Well, that does help us with our out-year commitments. If our RTPs take a smaller chunk of the out-year work, and then that gives us more flexibility to make choices for competings in the year when that big pot of non-competing money goes down. Katrina?
So I certainly appreciate the comments that have been made so far and think they're really good points. And normally I'm a person who is all about transparency, so what I'm about to say surprises me a little bit. So my job is to look out for community-engaged and population-based research. And to Lynn's point, I think that this institute really gets that, and therefore there's less elasticity for people who do that kind of work to shop among other institutes. The second is, this seems like a logical corollary of the presentations we heard last time about shifting from RFAs to NOCs, Notice of Special Intent. As I understood it, you were saying at that time that many of the program areas that NAEHS wants to support are basically having a hard time making it through study section at a payable level. And so you were switching to these notice of special intents. But that sort of says to me that at least, I know the community engaged areas best and have seen on study section that those kinds of grants tend not to score as well. And there were some basic science presentations of some examples where that happened in other areas as well. So that sort of is the other side of why I think it's a good idea for you to have more discretion.
So the NOCs took the place of program announcements, which did not have special study sections. The RFAs that we've discussed as funding announcements, we still feel very strongly on designing those as specific set-aside programs, being able to do our own review. So just to clarify that a little bit, but I do appreciate the other points. Brad and then Bob.
So I'm not worried about fairness, I'm not worried about comfort, but I am worried about fairness. And there's fundamentally no difference between a 9th percentile and a 12th percentile. And I think our Payline is too low at 10. I understand the challenges and I respect the decision you made. So I'm really not enthusiastic about the 8th percentile, and I really think that we need, I'm uncomfortable with 10, but I understand we have to make decisions. But there is I do think fairness is important to consider, given that these couple percents are fundamentally arbitrary, and there's very good grants. I think we should be funding up to the 15th percentile. And since we're not doing that, I feel like dropping it to the 8th is really unfair for that grant that's a 9th percentile that just gets excluded.
Okay, appreciate those ideas. Bob?
Have you done an analysis on the impact on, say, early stage investigators? Would this help them or hurt them? Are their scores so far above the Payline that would be essentially no effect?
So I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but in some rounds we have a fair number of ESIs that are within the 10th percentile. And then other ICs or all of us at NIH could have just stopped there, right? But then we were through the Next Generation Research Initiative, we are told that we need to look very carefully. I'd say also historically that was always a high priority criteria for us anyway to go beyond our Payline. And so in past years, Raise to Pays, we did have both early stage career investigators as well as new investigators. So we now systematically look to the 25th and we talk about every single one in detail, and we determine with program input whether we should just pay it now or whether, in combination of the conversation investigator and program staff, whether maybe it's not really ready for prime time at a 20 percentile or 22 percentile, and that it would disadvantage the work in some extent and not go through another round of development and refinement.
So is it possible to sort of follow up on what Katrina said, is to have a better understanding of if you did this and you had more discretion, what would be funded? Is there a way to do an analysis maybe of past years to see what your priorities would have been? Because I think it would help us to understand what would actually happen. Like, are there going to be more senior investigator with R1s getting funded, or more junior, or is there going to be more community engagement?
Every round is, this throw of the dice, right? Because we can't predict what's going to come in every round anyway. So we do know, we funded there. Then also, we don't know, I guess you could do a simulation where you look at the grants again and de novo decide whether you're going to put them up for funding or not. But that's a little contrived, and I'm not sure it wouldn't be biased because based on what we had done in the past. But to look at that and maybe track that to be able to analyze after whatever we do, if we keep it at 10 percentile, track those outcomes, be able to use that data the next time we want to think about this, or if we change it to any extent, make sure we know what we're doing, and so we know we can discuss the outcomes of our decisions. Lynn and then Gary.
First I want to support the notion, I think, that posited by Brad, that your budget should be such that you could have a 15% Payline. I completely agree. I think that.
Thank you. That would be very nice.
So we, I think we could unanimously vote, for that. I think one concern I have, however you go with this, is with a relatively large fraction of your extramural resources going into either solicited or unsolicited rates to pay, type research, whether that's 50% or 40%, that's a relatively large proportion. That I think it's incredibly important to have the data and the ability to communicate the data about the quality of that work. And I'm just assuming, that the unsolicited raised pay, from what I've seen so far, which is a very short period of time I've been on this, those have been highly meritorious proposals that if you had a 15% pay line would have just been funded, but they weren't because you've got a 10% pay line. So, but they've been highly meritorious. And the solicited, I haven't really paid much attention to that yet. But I think also, to be, just in terms of your relative positioning with the other institutes and how this institute is viewed, within the broader scientific community, I think it's extremely important that there's however you do it, whether it's 40 or 50%, that your hand is somehow on this through soliciting or unsolicited raised pay, that it's very clear that the quality of the science that you're funding is incredibly high. And in relationship to the other institutes, it's something that NIH should be proud of. So I just wanted to say that.
I think, and this may be just anecdotal, that over the years since we've had a Payline announced and we work through those issues, I think the reputation of the science in terms of its quality has been thought of in a different way, because you can say these were 10th percentile, whereas before there might have been questions, priority scores 40, 50 for things that are in the unsolicited. I mean, NIH does look at those distributions. I mean, they don't make disparaging judgment comments related to that, because we realize that everybody's science has its issues, and the pay line for different places is different. So yes, I appreciate those comments a lot. Jose?
Yeah, when I think communication is key, because I think what concerns me a little bit about changing the pay line, it's the perception among new investigators. It is really important that we have a cohort of new investigators that call NAEHS their home institution, right? And I'm not sure whether they have a good understanding of the implications of going from 10 to 8 without knowing that their discretion among NAEHS, to pick up some grants that are off the pay line, the raise to pay mechanism. Many people possibly don't know any of this, They just see that there's a drop in the pay line and they said, let me go to this other institute in which, naively they might think that they might have a better chance. So I think, efforts in communicating to our young talent, what the implications of potential changes are and what are their chances, if they provide good science and sound science, of being funded by NIEHS.
So while they're in ESI, I think NIH has tried to communicate, and we have tried hard to communicate, that we'll consider grants that are over the 10th percentile, way over. But I think where ESIs are then nervous is the next grant after that goes back to the standard. And some other ICs have created a pay line for that next grant post ESI status to maybe ease them into their pay line. And that I discovered that while I was looking through all the other ICs discussion on their websites. And again, that may be another strategy, to sort of cushion that thing. I think in our grantsmanship workshops and in all of our one-on-one conversations that we have with the applicant pool at any level of communication, any career stage, we try to really make it clear what these things are. We are not about hiding our decisions. I think the fact that I come every year, multiple times a year, to talk frankly with you and to the video world here about how we struggle with these ideas and what we do, I think is more transparent than many of our other ICs. Linda?
So I just wanted to come back to the point
sorry,
of
Gary, I'm getting
fairness that I think Brad raised and has been talked about. I will tell you what my frustration has been. In years where we don't have a lot of money that we can use for raise to pay, I see grants at the 11th percentile and 12th percentile that are actually much more, that I like a lot better than some of our grants that are at, say, the 9th percentile or the 10th percentile. And we're kind of locked in when you have that 10th percentile. As Brad was saying, there's no difference, frankly, between an 8th and a 9th and a 10th and an 11th and a 12th percentile. It's the throw of the die. And I can tell you, when we see grants that we get back, like for an A1, we often see that sometimes their score hasn't changed very much. Sometimes it's gotten a little worse. I'm sure some of you have had that very frustrating experience. Sometimes it gets a little better, like by 1 point. So the point is that, in some ways it would be so much nicer if we had plenty of money and we could just say superb, excellent, really good, and use those as categories as opposed to saying 5th percentile, 9th percentile, 11th percentile. And so that some of this discussion, why we brought it up, is based in part on our frustration at looking at grants that we think are really great, but because we're locked into the 10th percentile, we just don't have it. This year, for example, in FY19, there's just almost no money for raise to pays at all. And those are things we don't necessarily know. As you know, that every year, depending on how many come back as non-competings, we had a heck of a lot of non-competings this year. So there's less money available, say, to go into funding raise to pays.
And there were many more in the 10th percentile range than we had ever seen before.
Right.
And so the combination of those things really tied our hands.
And Gwen has addressed the early stage investigators. I mean, right now, NIH is encouraging the funding of at least 1,100 early stage investigators every year. They would like pretty much to fund up to the 25th percentile. And we do that as long as we believe that the grants are scientifically meritorious enough to fund. So there might be an early stage investigator that we don't fund with a 22nd percentile, for example. But that's because we would have a question about the science and often encouraging them to come back and resubmit.
Sure.
So I just wanted to make those points because, in fact, I'm going to have to leave.
Okay, Gary, go ahead.
Yeah, this is a great discussion. I can appreciate the really tough decisions that you guys have to make with regard to funding. Just a point of clarification for Shook May. I don't think that early stage investigators should avoid NCI.
They're not being disadvantaged there.
Is we pay up to the 14th percentile for early stage investigators, often without any further review. And as Linda said, we will go even higher than that with discussion for meritorious applications. So please don't avoid NCI.
So Gary, thank you for that clarification. I also want to make one point that maybe is a very interesting point. If I'm correct, a significant amount of NCI money goes to NCI designated centers, investigators. So, and then most institutions put a lot of money behind that. There's a lot of seed money that goes into it. But if you look at environmental health sciences.
Shook May, can I interrupt you for 1
Sure.
minute? Linda, before you go, do you want to say goodbye? I want to give you time to do that because she's not coming back.
I don't think I'm saying goodbye.
Well, I know, but I mean.
First of all, yesterday was so moving that I couldn't say anything yesterday. It has been an honor and a privilege. Not only working with all my staff, but council over the years has been so positive, so engaged, so interesting in so many ways. Stimulating, makes us all think. Hopefully we make you think at times. I think in some ways I feel like I'm just saying au revoir because I will still be scientifically active. I may even come to council sometimes and sit in the back row if I can control myself, But thank you for all you do for us. Thank you for being part of the NAEHS family. That's it.
All right, I actually have a few more slides, but it's up to Rick to decide if he's going to indulge me. Go ahead, Lynn.
I think this is a very important discussion that you should continue.
Yeah, we'll continue the discussion, and then if we still have time, I'll finish my talk.
So I want to continue.
Hey, Gwen,
Yes? Let's get Terry on the phone. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Terry Kavanaugh here.
Yeah, then we'll get to you, Lynn. Go ahead, Terry.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say one of the things that I think is interesting is the juxtaposition of your two presentations. And, if we're talking about optics for the early stage investigators, it would be interesting to know to what extent the success has been in solicited versus unsolicited versus raised to pay for all three of those. And for those students and postdocs that are considering continuing their career in EHS, I know that for a number of our trainees that there's been a critical decision that's made about what they're going to pursue for their careers based on the likelihood that they continue to be successful in applying for grants. And so that might be something you want to consider.
Okay, thanks. Those are good suggestions for some analysis of the portfolio for ESIs we can do. Lynn, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment back on your earlier part of your presentation about the
training.
T32s. I would volunteer to help you with that. And two, I think it's really important to look at this in the broader context of education and environmental health. Because I think you're generating through that program a lot of the future educators, but also, as you can see, there are trends in the kinds of fields, subfields that are supported. And also I think there are a lot of reasonable questions to ask about the carrying capacity even for people, with PhDs in the field, and I think you see that in some of the data about where people are going. I'd love to participate in that. I think those of us who are deans who are in environmental health have a lot of real concerns actually also about the ability to attract the right students into the field and what's been happening with the field of environmental health, especially at that feeder level, those who are going after bachelor's and master's degrees, those who will feed into eventually, the PhD programs, but it's the PhDs who will be teaching those people someday. And so I'd be very interested in engaging. And I think there's a lot of digging that could be done in the data that you showed us. I don't want to go into all the detail about that, but I do think I look at that and I have some ideas about it that I think could be helpful. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Edith?
Can I add
Yeah.
to that? I see a lot of women in science who don't get tenure and who don't make full professor. They kind of drop out of the pipeline, so I think it's really important. And I would like to know how many women, how many minorities are part of these trainees, how many Native Americans, and then I know you are doing this in 20 states. Well, what about the rest of the states? Because sometimes it seems to me that the good get better, the rich get richer, and the other people just stay at the same level. And so how do we diversify the outreach? How do we bring in more diverse people and fund in rural areas in different states? Arizona has 25 federally recognized tribes. How many tribal members or Native Americans do we have in this program?
Yep, we certainly can look at that, and I can tell you that we do have people in each of those categories that you mentioned. So we'll just pull that kind of data together and make that part of our analysis. Edith had something, and then Maureen.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to something we talked about yesterday. And I was going to say maybe this is the bright side of reducing the Payline is that then maybe you'd have less centers in the higher tier if you go to a tier system on the P30s. I'm joking because I don't know that 8 and 10 would make it. But I do think it does, there's a connection between the Payline and then what level of grants. I want to make that. I also thought it was really interesting in the data you showed of where the T32 submit, which was a lot of the institutes, not just NAEHS. So that then also begs the question of how much latitude centers will have to count grants that are not in NAEHS specific, and if the Payline continues to be that competitive. So just wanted to say that.
Okay, thank you. Maureen?
First, on the evaluation, I think you want to ask why and how questions instead of yes or no questions, and the questions that you had were yes or no questions. I'm very comfortable with Christy being part of the team, that I'm hoping you will take the enterprise approach, enterprise evaluation rather than the simple logic model, and I'll be pleased to help on that. On the funding and the Payline, if I'm outside and I don't know anything, and I look at this figure, then I would say, well, I'm better off going for it unsolicited anyhow, because if I have such limited success with solicited, and even a lesser chance with raise to pay. So how would you explain that to someone who knows nothing, basically, who's new in the field?
Yeah, of course, the success rates for the RFAs are all based on, the amount of money that's in the pool for the RFA and then the number of applications. So, we've seen solicitations that have been broad and maybe less focused than others, where we get hundreds of applications and, we haven't put the right amount of money in there, and then there's a very competitive, small outcome for just a few grantees. But we've learned from our mistakes there, and that you heard concepts yesterday that were way more focused, or we heard comments to focus even more, so that we can try to make sure that for all of the solicited, we get a funding, an award rate that's quite similar to what it would be if it was unsolicited. The intent isn't for it to be equal, but when we do our council presentations and people are listening in, or we discuss this in grantsmanship workshops or one-on-one, we try to make all those points so people have a better idea of what goes on and how we make our decisions. But thank you for raising those. All right, anybody else have any? Yep, Patrick.
I just want to raise one very important point in response to the comments made about how to advise the early stage investigators about which NIH institute is maybe appropriate for the first grant application. There's no secret that I don't advise my junior faculty to go to the NCI because of the Payline. Even though for ESI it's set at 14%, I would advise them to go to GM. It does have a negative impact, okay? No matter how you slice it.
Yeah.
This is a decision that we have to make after really very long and very thoughtful discussion and so on. No matter how you slice it, I cannot advise my junior faculty to go to NCI. Maybe now I cannot advise them to go to NIEHS either, if the Payline was dropped.
We'll talk about that.
That's what I'm saying. So let's not brush under the rug. Okay, just bear that in mind.
No, we really appreciate, the honesty and candor, and this is how we know how people in the field can take the information that we give and use, make real life decisions, and it really helps all of our staff to really understand, what goes on at the university in terms of thinking. So I really appreciate all of that. So with that said, you have the rest of my slides in the slide deck, and if you want to look at them, that's great. I'm not going to go through them right now because we have other good presentations for you to listen to. I thank you all for your comments, and again, any other thoughts that you have on either of these two topics, please email myself, Pat, and Rick, and we'll continue to consider all of this as we're making our final decisions. Thank you very much. All right, there's David. Our next presentation is about our HERE program. You guys remember that was in our closed session last year, and the awards have moved out the door. So David is going to talk to you about the program in general and a little bit about the grants that have been funded. Yep. Thanks, David.
Yep. Thank you, Gwen. Okay, so HERE, the Human Health Exposure Analysis Resource. So I wanted to come back a little bit to kind of our focus, particularly in the exposure response and technology branch, on really trying to build science to embrace the complexity of environmental exposure. So we know that exposure is obviously the base of environmental health, and that it is a very complex phenomenon, looking at multiple classes of chemicals and with extreme variation on multiple scales, whether it's time, space, biological complexity, and differential impact throughout the life course. And so we've really focused, really over the last decade, 15 years, on trying to build technology capacity to be able to embrace that complexity. And one of the realities that we're seeing as we get there is that this is not something that is doable in an individual study, that it really does require the integration of data across multiple studies, across multiple programs, and really, a key piece of this is that we need to make the data available publicly, and we need to have a commonality to the data so that it's scientifically feasible, tenable to integrate the data, so that it's all anchored in a systematic analysis of exposure, that we know what one study is measuring is directly comparable to what a second study in the database is also measuring. So this was really the nexus, the kernel that led to the creation of CHEER, the Children's Health Exposure Analysis resource, with funds that were redistributed from the National Children's Study in 2015. And I've spoken about CHEER to council in the past and in many other venues. This was, I think, a revolutionary concept to create a single infrastructure that can expand the analysis of exposures in any study supported by NIH, focused on children's health. We set up an infrastructure that has three major pieces: a coordinating center, a public access data center that also includes statistical and analytical services, and then a network of 6 laboratories that supported a range of work, from targeted biomonitoring of exposures, untargeted exposome analysis, and then an anchoring of that in biological response indicators, so that you had a mechanistic linkage between the exposures that were being measured by CHEER and the outcome data that was coming from the study itself. And then, of course, a requirement that all of the data that we generate, as well as that outcome data and other exposure data that the cohort has, shared through that data repository. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on CHEER, but I do want to present kind of what did we accomplish in 4 years of funding. So if you look at the main projects that we consider to be CHEER, that was 32 individual projects that we supported with almost 62,000 sample analyses. All of that data will be made publicly available in the repository once it clears embargo. So there's an embargo up to the time of publication, and we know that we've got a couple publications that are working through the final stages of review. So hopefully in the next maybe even a few weeks, we'll have publicly available data in the repository. In addition to the CHEER projects, we also did some individual things. We did some pilot feasibility studies, so really looking at some emerging exposure or some new novel matrices, or studies that did not have prior support from NIH to provide them preliminary data to come in with a grant application. And then we've also got a tier of resources that were dedicated to us from the ECHO program to support exposure analysis across ECHO. And we've supported a number of projects for ECHO, with another almost 10,000 sample analyses that will be made ultimately available through the ECHO program at this time. And that is a commitment that will also be going forward. And I wanted to kind of show you what so this is looking at the 32 CHEER projects and what ultimately this is really going to provide, the incredible power of this. So this is a complicated diagram, and I've shown earlier versions of this before. So I'll walk you through it. So first we have the color of the circle is the number of individual projects that have looked at that combination of exposure and outcome. The size of the bubble is the number of individual sample analyses that we have supported of that type. So you can see that you'll have really an unprecedented ability to look at how multiple exposures impact multiple outcomes simultaneously. You've never been able to do this before. I think it's incredibly rich. And all of that is data. We have common reference materials, so the same reference material is used in each of these studies, so that you will be able to directly compare the data from any one to any other study. It's incredibly powerful resource. So here, the human health exposure analysis resource, as I said, CHEER was funded from 2015 through 2019, literally ended just last week. And the HERE program is the continuation of CHEER as we move forward. And it's really very much the same fundamental idea, but it's a little bit broader. So we're now looking throughout the entirety of the life course. So it's not just limited to children now, but we wanted to look throughout the life course. And that's really, frankly, the major difference between the programs. Structurally, it's exactly the same. We have a coordinating center, a data center, and a network of laboratories that are going to be doing this. And as Gwen said, I'm going to tell you who we're funding now. So the last notice of grant award was released literally this morning, right before, so there's a little bit of anxiety about this, but it's all public information now. So the coordinating center is going to be remaining at Westat, who was the coordinating center for CHEER, and the data center is going to be remaining at Mount Sinai with Susan Teitelbaum as the PI. Again, that's a continuation of the CHEER data resource. So it's direct porting of internal coordination and coordination with community and the data systems. The laboratory, we did make a couple changes structurally to the laboratories, and so I want to walk through this in a little bit more detail than those two. So the targeted analysis and untargeted analysis remain very much what we were doing before. However, in CHEER, we've solicited single labs to do all three levels of analysis. And in HERE, we solicited each one independently. So there are, we're funding 3 labs. We're funding 3 labs. 3 labs. I said 3. Maybe we can go forward.
Push it 3 times.
Oh, it wants me to restart the program. Let's see what happens here. Okay. Nathan, thanks. So the 3 targeted labs are going to be all continuation from CHEER. So Bob and his group at Mount Sinai. Oh, we're back up. Excellent. Oh, you're getting me there, Nathan? Thanks. Yep. Okay. So Bob's group at Mount Sinai, Lisa Peterson at Minnesota, which is a partnership with the Minnesota Department of Health, and Karen Hussett's group there, and Pat Parsons and Cannon at the Wadsworth Center. So all 3 of these groups are continuation from CHEER, and there's direct parallels to the analyses that they were doing. All 3 are very well versed in our processes and regular participants in PT, so there's going to be very little delay or lag in keeping those, and a lot of continuity with what we were doing in CHEER. Likewise, the untargeted analyses, we're funding 2 labs. Manish Arora is the PI of the untargeted group at Mount Sinai, again continued from CHEER, and Tim Fennell at RTI, and this is a partnership with UNC Chapel Hill and UNC Charlotte doing the untargeted analysis. Then the we went through this in the concept presentation, the biological response aspect of CHEER was very difficult for us to manage. There was not a lot of continuity between the individual labs, and we felt that it was sometimes the cart that drove the horse for some of the requests that we had. And that there was a little bit of an opportunity lost in trying to embody the full extent of the exposome because we were not doing analysis of environmental samples. So in here we solicited, rather than biological response indicators, we added a component to look at analysis of environmental samples. So this is new, not obviously a continuation from CHEER, and Duke University is the one lab that will be supporting for environmental sample analysis. And since we think that Duke is a big deal, the Duke Environmental Exposure Analysis Lab, I wanted to spend a couple slides talking about what Duke is going to be doing. So this is a partnership between Heather Stapleton, who is a ONES investigator, a longtime NAEHS grantee, and Lee Ferguson, who is also an NAEHS grantee, and both are heavily involved in the Superfund program. And they're the co-directors of the Duke Center for Environmental Exposomics and have been doing a lot of analysis specifically on environmental samples. So the matrices that they'll be handling really are very broad, looking at water, soil, sediment, house dust, hand wipes, also filters from air monitors, and the silicone wristbands. They have a partnership with Kim Anderson's group to look at the silicone wristbands. And they bring a lot of capacity to look, so Heather's group really focuses on targeted analysis, particularly for the flame retardants, but a broader set of organic and inorganic analytes as well. And really, very high-end targeted analysis that complements the biomonitoring that the here targeted labs will be doing. And then Lee's group focuses on the untargeted analysis with very similar platforms to the metabolomic analyses that will be done in the untargeted groups. And really very careful data analysis, processing, and annotation for the exposures that will directly complement the untargeted work that will be done in the other labs. So this is a really very full-service environmental sample analysis laboratory, and we're really excited to add Heather and Lee and Duke into the program. So the other major change to hear from CHEER is that this is no longer a true trans-NIH program. This is a program that is being funded by individual institutes rather than by a common pool of funds from the NIH overall. The bulk of the resources obviously are coming from NAEHS, from our Health and Human Services appropriation, but we do have several partners who have committed funds, including the Superfund Research Program. So we're also taking some of our Superfund appropriation and adding that in. So they're co-funding, and the Superfund investigators will also have access to our analytical capabilities. As I said, the ECHO program is continuing to invest over the 4 years remaining in ECHO into the exposure analysis here, and we'll be continuing to dedicate ourselves as their major exposure resource lab. And then NCI and NHLBI, so Gary's group at NCI and both actually the entirety of Heart, Lung, and Blood are also co-funding and will be providing access to some of their cohorts through the resource. There are a couple other institutes who are still considering, so I'm hoping that over the next year or two we'll be able to expand this to include hopefully even 3 or 4 or 5 other institutes as contributors to the program. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the transition, because this is really important to us and to the HERE program going forward. So reiterating, CHEER was funded from September 2015 through last week, active funding, and so all of those programs are either continuing in HERE or are in no-cost extensions for 1 year to complete the remaining analyses that we've committed to. We held our final steering committee meeting in person in June in Minneapolis. and really had three focuses for that. So first was just getting an update on our projects, making sure that everything is moving, everything that we have approved is moving, and then looking one last time at our committed capacity and making sure that we can deliver on everything that we've promised to do, and whether we have any excess capacity to take some of those reserve projects that we've got that we don't have capacity within CHEER do we have the ability to move any of those forward? And the answer, unfortunately, was no. Within CHEER, we didn't have the resources to do those. And then, importantly, we had a very detailed discussion of pain points that we experienced in CHEER and opportunities to improve on those as we move forward in here. So really identifying where are the bottlenecks, where are the things that caused us or our clients discomfort as they move through. And of course, parallel to that, everybody knew that HERE was moving forward. So the solicitations for HERE were released at the end of August last year and funded, as the last one got funded this morning. So that'll be funding from this week through June of 2024, hopefully continuing beyond going forward. And we've already started having some discussion about HERE and what we can and should do, and have planned our first grantee meeting, which will be just a month from today at WestAT in DC. And the real focus of that meeting is on the tweaks. Where are we going to improve our processes, procedures, having a discussion of the handful of projects from CHEER that got evaluation that was in line of things that we would support. We just didn't have the capacity to deliver on those projects. So, considering porting those into HERE as things that we can start analyzing day one. And then really readying ourselves to open the doors to start receiving new client applications. Hopefully, I keep pushing for December 2019, but maybe early January or potentially even February. But I'm hoping that this is sooner rather than later that we'll start accepting applications for HERE. So this is an evolution of the program. It is not a revolution, but we spent a lot of time looking at what works and doesn't work. We have a formal logic model for CHEER that we developed very early on in the program and have touched base with regularly throughout. We've done 2 rounds of client satisfaction surveys, and then we had that discussion at the in-person meeting, and really are focusing on 3 major points of what can we do better and how do we do it better, both in terms of the application process, which has been lengthy and difficult sometimes to navigate, the post-approval initiation, which again has been lengthy and difficult to negotiate in many cases, but can work very, very quickly. And then some inconsistencies in the proposal review that we experienced throughout, and really trying to strengthen the evaluation of the client proposals going forward. So I want to touch on a couple things from the client satisfaction survey. Some good news. More than 75% of people who came to CHEER said that this is a great resource, and not only do they intend to use it, but they intend to recommend it to their colleagues, and that the resources that we provide are good or great. And I think encouragingly, half of the people that we said, no, sorry, not quite ready for prime time, said they're going to come back. So there's a sufficient value to them that it's worth trying again, even if they weren't successful coming through the first time. But there were also some challenges that our clients identified and some suggestions for improvement. So, kind of a recurring comment was it sounded easier than it was. And Marina's nodding her head. So really, our clients focused on some processes to improve, really some streamlining of the submission process and some of our IT programs that can be improved, improving the consultation process with the data center and the lab hubs. Some concerns that we have unrealistic expectations for data harmonization, and I think that we, CHEER, and HERE going forward, kind of feel like that's tough. The whole point of this program is to enable data harmonization, and we're going to be pretty dogmatic about this. You're going to have to play by our rules in order to access free analysis. But we do recognize the concerns, and we do want to be responsive to them. And then some more systematic things of improving the ability to reapply. So we've already established actually 5 work groups to move things forward and to get things rolling. So streamlining that application process, we've actually had several calls already to really push this and to improve the process. We've got some plans for how we're going to improve the proposal review and the client consultation process. The IRB documentation and data sharing agreements, this was probably the largest delay, particularly with very complex multi-site consortia. And so we've already started working with our data center to improve those processes. And then it's not really an improvement, but it's such a fundamental piece of the program that the laboratory harmonization and our commitment to quality control and quality assurance programs is fundamental to us, and so we're maintaining that as a work group, and that's just a continuation of the dialogue. We're challenging each of these groups to really come with a very focused implementation scheme. So what are the challenges that they experienced in CHEER or that they foresee going forward with HERE? What are the recommendations for improvement? How do we know if our improvements are actually improvements? And how do we ensure accountability, not only for ourselves, but also for our clients? And how do we hold their feet to the fire sometimes? That sometimes they're the ones that are causing the delays, and how do we make sure that they are held accountable, as are we? So with that, I will draw to a close just with some final thanks, particularly to the CHEER program team. Claudia, my co-director, we talk every day about CHEER and HERE, and really it is a great partnership. Yusha, who has been our coordinator throughout the program and really supports everything that we do, and then our team, Jenny, Chris, Kim, Bonnie, Christy, Dan, and James, who is our grants management lead and really does a fantastic job working with the grants. And then the continuation and the HERE program team. So I'm going to be taking a little bit of a step back as program officer. I was a program officer for everything in CHEER, and I'm going to step back a little bit, and I'm going to let Jenny, Chris, and Yusha take over as program leads on the individual awards. But we do have a lengthy team from NAEHS that are going to be contributing. Michelle will be taking on as the Superfund rep. Kim Bonnie will be staying on, Christy as our evaluation lead, and James Hill on grants. And then we have our Trans NIH team with Gary and his team at NCI, Krista and Gabe. Susan Lasig is our new point of contact in the ECHO program. She's a new hire in ECHO, specifically focused on environmental exposure analysis. It's a great addition to ECHO, I think. She came from EPA. And NHLBI with Michelle Olive and Putu Srinivas as our leads there. Great team. We'll look forward to working with them over the next several years. And of course, I want to thank our CHEER and HERE grantees, particularly John and the group at Michigan, and Gary and Lance and the group at Emory, who unfortunately are not going to be continuing immediately, at least within HERE, but also the folks that are continuing on, and Duke, welcome to the party, and they're already contributing a lot to what we're doing going forward. And with that, I will draw to an end. I'll say thank you all for your attention, and glad to take any questions.
All right, thank you, David. Anybody have any questions or comments for David? Anybody on the phone?
Clear as mud.
Okay. Maureen, go ahead.
Just want to say thank you, David. It was not a sprint. It isn't a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And we've got to know each other, we collectively in the program very well. But on a more serious note, it is such a gift and a new resource for us to take the science of environmental health at the next level. And so collective, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Maureen.
Jose?
Yeah, I just want to also join in thanking for you all for this important sort of new phase. I think, and especially being able to have exposomics and including environmental, I think that that is really critical. The sort of, this is sort of perhaps maybe too much of a nuts and bolts question, but I'll ask it anyway. And it's how do before this session we were talking about people that are applying and whether they'd be funded. How would the new program work in terms of people that may be considering applying for a grant versus those that already have grants?
Yeah, so it's a difficult question, and in CHEER we were pretty dogmatic that this had to be analysis beyond the specific aims of your approved project. And Gwen and I have had some conversation on maybe stepping back from that a little bit. It does create a grants management issue of how do, if we funded you to do an analysis within your grant, how do we back those funds out if we're going to be doing it through here? Or do we set up a system that allows a chargeback? So you can use the HERE resources to support your grant using your grant funds. So that's part of the conversation that we're going to be having over the next couple months of how do we tweak the eligibility to allow some supportive things that are within your specific aims.
Okay, if we don't have any other comments, thank you, David. Appreciate it. Okay, our next speaker. Oh, hi, Christine. I'm looking in the wrong place. Is Christine Flowers, who's the Director of the Office of Communications and Public Liaison. And I always ask her to come about once a year to give us an update on all the exciting work that her office is doing.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be with you today. My name is Christine Flowers, Director of Communications for the Institute, including the National Toxicology Program. It's been about almost 3 years since I addressed the council. There are some new members, and we also have some new leadership at the Institute. So I thought I'd just start out by giving a rundown of the major support services that we provide to the Institute, and then I'll get into some of these in depth to discuss some of our more current activities. Sort of to answer, what do those communications people do all day anyway? As most people know, we handle media relations, and that is that we write press releases and we handle those reporters. And that is a very big piece of our program. But we also produce many newsletters. We handle public inquiries, a number of them every day, and prepare responses for them. We create educational materials. We do science messaging, translation, and editing to include speech writing, PowerPoint presentations, and we are really translators in that because we take science talk and we communicate it in words that can be understood and appreciated and valued by non-science people. So that's a very important skill. We produce scientific posters, illustrations, photography, audio and video recording and production, international and VIP visit protocol. We have visiting dignitaries, international dignitaries, members of Congress, state government officials that come often. Special events planning and promotion. If we're not hosting the event or planning it, such as 50th anniversary, we're promoting it. We are keepers of the NAEHS history. We have a program of traveling exhibits and demonstrations that go to 6 or 7 scientific conferences like the American Public Health Association, the Society of Toxicology, the Endocrine Society meeting every year. We maintain websites and serve on the Institute's cyber infrastructure leadership. We have social media, human study recruitment. We are not responsible for human study recruitment, but we assist the programs with that. I was very involved in the campaign to recruit more than 50,000 women for the sister study, more than 32,000 people for the Gulf study, And now we're starting to help the clinical research unit. Of course, they're looking for much smaller numbers in the neighborhood of 20 to 50 participants. But for about the past year and a half, we've been actively engaging with that program to help them with recruitment. And finally, freedom of information. We've experienced an explosion in freedom of information requests in the past 3 years. We are issuing thousands of pages of documents every month, and that's become a real busy area for us. So media relations, we see ourselves, NAEHS and NTP, and about right at just under 10,000 news stories per year. And I think those are great numbers. When I came 15 years ago, I can't believe it's been that long, but we were right at about 250 stories per year. We've seen a nice uptick in that year over year. But you can see this is really leveling off. And the traditional newspapers, television news, radio news, that's not where we're finding the opportunity for communication now. That's in social media. People are no longer waiting for the New York Times to write a story about NAEHS. They're going to NAEHS Twitter feed, they're putting it in their daily news feed, and they're getting their news that way. So we're seeing a leveling off of the traditional news services and their service to the public. And going forward in the next year, we will start tracking social media impressions as well as our traditional news outlets to determine the reach that we're having in communicating the NAEHS science. So we handle quite a few media interview requests. That has been largely driven in 2016 by cell phones. Over 250 media requests for interviews every year. That translates into just under 200 media interviews. You don't want to do every interview you're asked to do. Sometimes it's best to send it to another agency. Sometimes you're asked to comment on pending legislation, which we never do. Sometimes you're asked to comment on all kinds of things that you really shouldn't. But for the large part, we do quite a few interviews. Dr. Birnbaum does a significant portion of those interviews. And then we get other requests for information that we can refer to things on our website and other materials to keep that media loop going. And we've become a reliable source of information for the media over the last number of years, so we do get quite a lot of requests. Dr. Birnbaum's gone, but I wanted to just give her a shout out. She has been an enthusiastic, capable spokesperson for the Institute. She's done a great job, and she's been wonderful to work with. She is the media lover. I hate to see her go. But she's done, in her time here, at least 357 interviews by my last count. She's been quoted in 3,694 news stories. And she's done at least 31 interviews for TV specials, film, and documentaries. So she's just been wonderful in that regard. As it relates to a breakdown among the divisions at NAEHS for media inquiries, the NTP by far gets the most. They do things that the public can really relate to, of course, cell phones, crumb rubber, fluoride, all of those kinds of things that the public's very interested in. Follow closely behind the OD, and that's largely Dr. Birnbaum and our bioethicist, David Resnick. The DIR, the Division of Intramural Research, epidemiology, I would say, gets the most of those inquiries and does quite a lot. And then finally, DERT. I will tell you that when we are able to, we bring media to our grantees. You'll see where we promote the press releases and things like that. But whenever we think we can create an opportunity for some of our grantees to have some visibility around their research, we try to work in a coordinated way for that too. Yesterday was a good day for us. We were part of the big Apple rollout and announcement. We issued a press release ourselves announcing our partnership with Apple and Harvard on a new women's health study that will look at pregnancy, infertility, and many other female conditions related to reproduction. It'll be based on a new research app from Apple. It will be available sometime in October. They have eventually a goal of rolling out to 100,000 participants worldwide. They'll start in the US. And Dr. Alan Wilcox is going to serve as our point person to lead the NAEHS data analysis. So that's a big opportunity. That's a huge amount of data. We will be able to publish our papers, our independent papers out of these data sets. So it's something we're really excited about. So press releases are a big part of our program, and people think that's the major part of our program, but in fact, it's not a huge part of what we do to get the science out. We issue about 12 press releases per year, about one per month. And that puzzles people because they think, well, isn't that how you get all the news out to the public? And I will say it is when the concept, the finding, the result is very easy to communicate in plain language terms, even better if it has a close tie with a health outcome. And it's something that people are hearing about and concerned about, have heard in the news. If you can leverage things that are happening in current events, yes, it makes a lot of sense. For our basic research, however, sometimes writing a press release is just not the best way to get that information out to the people that can appreciate and value it. Here's some examples of successful press releases that have had a lot of attention. Cell phones, of course, as I mentioned, has dominated 2,600 hits on that press release when it went out. Soy infant formula and menstrual pain was also very popular. Sleeping with artificial light associated with weight gain. Programs to train first responders, and greenness around homes linked to lower mortality. These were all very successful press releases. They generated lots of coverage. Some less successful press releases, much less successful press releases, less than 20 hits press releases. I point this one out here on the top, a roadmap to guide progress toward replacing animal use. This could have been a bigger press release for us if we would have front-loaded the replacing animal use. These lead-up words are words that scientists love, quite frankly. And we work with our scientists. We collaborate. We find something everyone's comfortable with. But that doesn't always get the visibility. A press release is meant to pique interest, not tell the whole story. You've got to crack the door so you can bring them in, get an interview, write something that's more in depth. And that's the purpose of a press release. If you can't do that with a press release, don't do the press release. You just become part of the noise. Another one, diversity outbred mice better predict potential human responses to chemical exposures. Enough said. All right. A much better strategy for us has been to leverage our award-winning newsletter. We were honored to take first place last year from the Government Association or the National Association of Government Communicators for an electronic newsletter. That was great because we're a science newsletter. And so we're very proud of that. But the environmental factor has a more scientific readership, a little bit more science-minded. These stories are leveraged individually out through social media to targeted audiences. We can pull them and email them to science writers that are following a specific topic like stem cell or DNA repair or signal transduction, and those get put into the readership for people that are interested in that topic. So oftentimes if we say a press release isn't the right thing to do, let's do a newsletter story. That gets leveraged out to the NIH Catalyst, which goes to all of the intramural and touts the intramural, the NIH record, it goes to health publications and other journals. So that's been a very good strategy for us. And you can see by looking at the top 12 stories for the newsletter, more scientific topics can come in, like ONES awards, scientific awards, mechanisms can be touted there, bench to bedside kinds of things. So it's just a better way to go about getting our information to a targeted audience. We help with other newsletters as well, which are available right from our NIEHS homepage. Mostly we provide guidance and promotion on these. The individual programs develop them, Partnership for Environmental Public Health, Global Environmental Health Newsletter, and the Superfund Research Project Science Digest. So public information, we get about 746 inquiries from the public every year on everything from mold to I'm buying my house next to power lines, what do I do? Does my cell phone really, should I sleep with my cell phone under my pillow? Climate change, more recently, stuff on PFAS and pesticides. But we always try to provide research in our public inquiries, but that continues to be quite an area of demand for us. We're getting questions through email, phone calls, letters, but more and more through our social media channels as well. So educational materials, what I passed around is the example of our latest publication. We have 75 fact sheets and booklets and brochures on our website under brochures and fact sheets right from the top on environmental topics. We have a bunch of research resources there, information about our training programs and other things. They're all downloadable from the website. These materials especially are offered at our scientific conferences and our traveling exhibits. People always want to take something home to the kids. This is written for about an 8th grade middle school level. It's really a wonderful, engaging way to introduce the idea that environment is linked to your health. This is just recently updated this year. It used to be called Environmental Diseases, A to Z, so we wanted to be a little bit more broad than trying to just name diseases. We've introduced some of the science and some of the ABCDs. So anyway, just wanted to provide that. I always like to give you a little visual aid in my presentations. Also, we develop scientific posters, so 675 scientific posters we lay out and print for our scientists to take each year. 140 scientific illustrations. I give an example here. We get the back of the napkin drawings, which we create nice visuals for. And then, of course, we have photo sessions, 275 photo sessions. I'll give a shout out to Steve McCaw, who is our very talented photographer and does so much of this great work for us. Special events and planning, these are just some of examples of the more recent things that we promoted. Music in Your Health was a big community forum. The grand opening of our Net Zero Energy Warehouse, of course the Rod Bell lectures, our Spirit lectures, and our Women's Health Awareness Day that we held out at Central, all very popular and well-attended things. We also produce video recordings and production, about 10 per year. That's our biggest area of growth. Everybody wants video. And we are happy to say that our environmental management system training, which is training for our NIEHS employees, won an NIH Green Champion Award this past year. And many of our scientists now, when they launch new databases or new science resources, are actually doing little demo videos that we're putting out on YouTube so people can walk through and know how to use these various databases and resources that are there. We oversee really about 22 websites, but we majorly contribute. These are our biggest websites. The public website gets 2.6 million hits per year. The kids' website, very well trafficked at 1.7, a little bit more than 1.7 million The NAEHS Partners is a password-protected web space where our collaborators from the outside can work with folks on the inside, sharing resources and have a protected web space, easy to work through. I think PEPH uses that space to share their resources. The Junction is our employee web space. The Environmental Factor newsletter has its own website. NTP, we generate a lot of content there. They do their own web development. And then finally, join an NAEHS study in support of our clinical research studies. That's only been up since last April, and it's already had 12,000 visits. So we make more than 7,000 website updates each year, and that sounds like a lot, but it's not nearly enough. I will tell you, in the web world, new content is king. If you aren't updating every web page with something new, at least monthly, a new graphic, a new publication, an update on what your research is doing, a new grant, something, your page is going to be at the bottom of the Google search results. And many times I'll have scientists come to me and say, look, I'm doing stem cell research, but I Google stem cell and it doesn't turn up in my Google search results. Well, your web page hasn't been updated in 3 years. And it's still good information, but that's just the nature of it. So we work hand in hand with our scientific and program staff to try to regularly look at what pages need to be updated and always be refreshing that. But it's a huge task. When you create a web page, it needs to be maintained. So as I mentioned, I also serve on the cyber infrastructure leadership team along with all these other great folks. I just wanted to draw your attention to the fact that the new roadmap, the Informatics and Information Technology Strategic Roadmap, is available on our website now. We also have a new resource on our website, and it is a one-stop shop for all PFAS activities throughout the Institute. And that includes all of the many NTP studies. They're listed in tables, all the studies, the status of the study, all the reports and data sets that are now publicly available are there. It also includes all the papers that are coming out of our grant-funded research on PFAS. It has a list of all the meetings and all the our hosted meetings and the national meetings on PFAS, and then any of our newsletter stories related to our PFAS work. And whenever there's a major finding or study, we always do that. And so that is available on our website. You can simply go to our search engine at the top of our homepage and type in PFAS. It'll bring you right there. And so another fairly new resources on our website is this new Join an NAEHS Study website. And Dr. Birnbaum asked me to get involved with clinical recruitment about 1.5 years ago, just to help put a marketing spin on the recruitment. It was frankly slow. And what we did is developed a standalone website that had very plain language, and it's just for the purpose of recruiting. It's just for the purpose of meeting with the public, intriguing and engaging the public. So very plain language. We gave all the studies short names. The name of this e-cigs and smoking study is quite long. I'd have to pull it up and read it back to you. But there are a number of studies that are currently recruiting. They all have short names and a very short study description, eligibility, what is entailed, if there's compensation, who's running the study, and how to get involved. And we have, since it's launched, we've had 66 people contact the clinical research unit and enrolled 15 people in studies. And that's actually very exciting for us because we were at 1 and 2 participants for a lot of our studies. And this is growing. So now that we have this website to build from, we've launched a new Facebook ad trial pilot. We did it with our smoking study. And we got 16 people that called in wanting to join the study, and 3 actually eligible and enrolled. And that was after a month of Facebook ads. You can see that traffic to that particular study site, the ad started in April, went through May, so it peaked, brought in a lot more interest to the clinical research unit. We know that that interest to that webpage was driven by the Facebook ad, because down here, it's the Facebook ad, and that's a M for mobile. People are engaging us through cell phones. Almost very little right here through laptops and desktops and clicking a link. We also know about what areas are responding. So we got this demographic area. We targeted the ad to local. And so we can see where the interest came from in the area. I think this New York is very interesting as an outlier. Either that means that lots of people from New York are now living in the Triangle. I'm not sure, I haven't been able to dig into that, but it gives us a little bit of information about demographics. And then in terms of cost and our reach. So the first ad ran for 1 week. It showed up in 12,900 people's feed, 7,000 read it, 65 clicked on the link to get more information about signing up. The subsequent ad ran for a month, much more reach, interest, generated a little bit more. And I'm wondering if that's going to tick up now with all the news about the health effects related to vaping. So anyway, and that cost us about $500 to run. But we've had our challenges. We know that social media is the way to reach people, but frankly, learning how to deal with Facebook is interesting. Very, very interesting. It's a moving target. So we, for example, Facebook rejected this image, and we ended up having to go to this image because Facebook will not approve, it says, ads depicting harmful, unethical behavior. So the tricky part here is we're like, okay, just pick another picture. No, you've got to go back to the IRB. And you've got to get these new revised messages and images approved again before you can just switch your Facebook ad and go out. So that's the challenge. And interestingly enough, they didn't have a problem with the top of that smoking thing that started out with, "Are you a smoker?" But in a subsequent ad attempt, they rejected one of our ads that says, "Do you have myositis and have served in the military?" because they said they don't allow self-identifying ad language, which puzzled us. But anyway, so we went back to the IRB and we ended up with this ad headline, "Join a study for active military veterans," but again, required a new IRB approval. So we're learning how to do this. We're learning how to get involved with thinking through what we might need for these Facebook ads, how to target and tag them better so they get to the intended audience. But anyway, we're working on it. So Facebook, obviously, we do about 259 posts a year. We do our press releases. We do our feature stories from our newsletters. We do any new resources. And then we also focus on sharing our grantees news as well. So here's something out of Dartmouth that we shared on Facebook, made a post. LinkedIn is another site that's mostly used for career building. It's for our student groups, for our postdocs use a lot. We have student announcements of awards for our grantees. And it's really a place for people to build their careers. We put all of our job postings on there. And this is actually, I think, a posting from our Scholars Connect. The members of the Scholars Connect program all link and do communication on LinkedIn. Twitter, we have about 526 posts on Twitter. Again, some of the other same information, but boiled down to those limited number of characters. But we also do engagement activities. So John Balbus did a Twitter chat for us in the World Asthma Day event that we co-sponsored with some other of our sisters at NIH. We were appreciative of him doing it. I think it was very, very popular. And, it had a worldwide following. So, John, thank you for doing that. Reddit is another new platform that we're using, 330 million active users. That's a huge reach. It's sort of like Twitter, but longer. These are exchanges in texting. And we had one, Reddit has something called Ask Me Anything, where you put experts there to take questions from all over the world, the public, and they are texting answers back very frantically. But a great following. Here's our own Kim Gray plugging along on Ask Me Anything. They received 224 questions for that particular session. It reached like 1.2 million people into their feed. 200 people viewed the conversation. And, these are like likes. They got some upvotes, 92% upvotes, and the number of viewers that actually cast a vote is 4,761, which I understand is quite good. But this gives you a chance to answer these questions more in depth. I just wanted you to see kind of what it looks like. Dr. Collins loves to do these Reddit Ask Me Anythings and does them quite frequently. So YouTube, we have 82 videos on YouTube, Spirit Lectures, summer internships, citizen scientists, you can check it out. 503 subscribers. You are on YouTube. So we are now live streaming our open council sessions, and we can post those recordings on our YouTube channel. Maybe it's something we'd like to talk about. They are closed captioned and available for later viewing. And wrapping up, I just want to acknowledge my terrific team. We've lost 4 seasoned staff members in the past couple of years, and we've replaced them with some new folks. But these folks deserve a lot of credit. My office is incredibly busy. There's not a moment wasted. And so they're all doing such a great job. Just to introduce some new folks, well, gosh, I'd have to name them all off. Sheena Scruggs has been doing our Reddit Ask Me Anything. Carol Kelly is a new member doing managing editing. Robin Arnett is a long time. She's been with me since I started here at NAEHS. Anyway, our great team. Regina, she heads our FOIA office, and she also oversees 4 other people to keep up with that FOIA. And finally, I want to give a special thanks to our 2 contractors, Image Associates and NetEase Solutions for our web design. Image Associates, John Maruka is in the back. He's handling all of our AV for our council meeting. Nathan Mitchner is from our web group, and he does our webcasting. I already said Steve McCaw does a great job. I have a wonderful team, and it's our honor to serve the Institute. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Thanks, Christine. Anybody have any questions for us? Yeah, Jose.
Well, it's wonderful, all the work you're doing, and I'm really impressed with this. By any chance you have it in other languages?
Yes, it's being translated into Spanish, French, and Chinese.
Okay.
And it'll be available on our website in those languages as well.
Great. Rick.
If there are other questions, if not, I just want to comment that if it's not abundantly clear, Christine has done just a phenomenal job. I've interacted with public liaison offices at many other institutions, and Christine is just the best. So thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much. We have one more presentation. We're going to go a little bit over 11. We've asked the shuttle back to campus to be delayed a little bit so everybody can stay through the talk. And Brian, do you want to introduce your folks?
Thanks, Gwen. So Memta Bell, who is one of our leads for a novel initiative within the NTP, developing a strategic approach to developmental neurotoxicity testing, will give you some insights into that initiative.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Brian. I realize I'm the last person standing between you guys and adjournment, so I will make this quick. So what I'd like to update you all on today is how we are re-envisioning developmental neurotoxicity testing at the NTP. And my talk's divided into these major segments. So I'm going to talk a little bit about neurodevelopmental disorders and public health concerns, and how we are re-envisioning our strategy in terms of screening compounds for developmental neurotoxicity, in vivo testing, and then how we are incorporating that into exposure assessment and clinical translation. So a little bit about what are public health concerns associated with neurodevelopmental disorders. And most of you are aware that there's been an increasing prevalence of learning and behavioral disabilities as well as neurodevelopmental disorders in the United States as well as globally. And these are just examples of what you're seeing in terms of a rise with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and autism spectrum disorder over the past 15 years or so. And there's an estimated cost of about $461 billion that is going to be associated with these kinds of disorders. Now, these are not limited only to the United States, but really this is a global health issue. And this is just an example from a report from the Japanese Ministry of Education showing, again, how there's been an increase in a host of these disorders over the past 15 to 20 years. And so really what we are interested in is what's going on in our environment and how is it, and what part of it is contributing to some of these, this rise in neurodevelopmental disorders. So here's a statement from a group called Tender, which is an expert scientific group that came together and has really talked a lot about what's going on with our current strategy and what needs to be done. And Dr. Birnbaum was part of this Tender group. And what it essentially says is that our system for evaluating scientific evidence and making decisions about environmental chemicals is essentially broken. And we cannot continue to gamble with our children's health, indicating that there's really a need for a new framework and to re-envision how we are evaluating developmental neurotoxicity. And then here's another consensus statement on the need for innovation, transition, and implementation of developmental neurotoxicity testing for regulatory purposes. And really the concern here is that we have tens of thousands of compounds in our environment, and currently there's no effective and efficient mechanism to even look at what these compounds may be doing in terms of being associated with or causing neurodevelopmental disorders. So as you all are aware that we have a new strategic plan which goes from 2018 to 2023, and neuroscience has been identified as one of the 4 new scientific priority areas, in addition with metabolomics mixtures and microbiome. And as part of this, we've created a trans NAEHS neuroscience faculty, and several folks are in this room. So Janet Hall, Cindy Lawler, Kim Gray, John Hollander, Jerry Akel, and Robert Sills and myself are the NTP representatives. And the goal of this trans NIHS neuroscience faculty is really to try and bring in and evaluate new technology and new methods that may be out there that we could bring into the institute and really try and re-envision how we are looking at neuroscience across the institute. And in parallel, the NTP recently created a new DNT Health Effects Innovation Program with this recognition that we do need a new framework to evaluate environmental chemicals with neurodevelopmental potential more effectively. And so the rest of my talk is going to be focused on this DNT HEI initiative. So the main mission of this initiative is to have public health impact in terms of identifying environmental chemicals which may be associated with neurodevelopmental disorders in a more deliberate way and really reaching out more actively, going out to susceptible populations such as pregnant women and children. Provide a forum for collaboration, not only among our government stakeholders, but also across regulatory agencies, as well as clinicians, advocacy groups, academicians, and really spread the word and have folks that are interested come in and join hands for us to make this program more effective. And of course, training the next generation is really an important aspect of this initiative as well. So why the NTP, and what are some of the things that puts us in a unique position to really advance the field? So one is our mission. Our mission is timely protection of public health. And so with this mission in mind, really that being our predominant focus, we are really reaching out to doing whatever is the best possible. We are really fortunate in terms of resources, and what I mean by that is the NTP is one of the few places where you can do a guideline GLP developmental neurotoxicity study and in parallel explore novel tools and the latest technology in order to advance the field and hopefully implement some of those in our testing. So there's very few places which really have the ability to do that. In terms of flexibility, we are a little different from industry and regulatory communities in the sense that we are not subject to pressures such as, a drug needs to be out on the market and hence there's a limited amount of things which need to be done. We are limited by, of course, being timely, but having said that, we do have the flexibility of doing the best science possible in a timely manner. And then finally, of course, we're really fortunate to have stakeholders that have been extremely responsive and collaborative and continue to be, because a lot of folks really are interested in this mission and are really concerned about this global rise in neurodevelopmental disorders. So just getting into the talk a little bit more, I'm going to be talking about three aspects, as I said: screening, in vivo testing, and then how does that link into exposure assessment as well as translation. So for the screening part, for now, we are really going to talk about some strategies of how we might be able to prioritize these compounds in our environment with potential for developmental neurotoxicity, which have never really been identified. And then how might we complement and refine our in vivo testing with that information. And what I'm going to talk about is use of some rapid high-content cell-based models as well as complementary animal studies. So really the goal of our screening efforts is we're asking the question, how can in vitro screens be used to prioritize compounds for future testing in vivo? And down the road, hopefully, once we have enough of a mechanistic understanding of how some of these compounds work, can we predict toxicity in structurally similar compounds with similar biology and ultimately, hopefully, replace animal testing at some point down the road? So what you're seeing here is these are key fundamental neurodevelopmental processes that are absolutely necessary for nervous system development. And so these are well conserved across species. So for instance, cells need to adequately proliferate, migrate to the correct brain regions, form neurites, they need to crosstalk, form synaptic connections, and fire in synchrony. And if there is perturbation in any one of these processes or multiple processes, the idea and the thought is that these might translate into adverse outcomes in the nervous system. And so what the NTP did to this point is that we created a 91 compound library, and you can see that they have several categories in them. And we sent this library out to our collaborators and researchers across the globe who had these assays and who are experts in looking at these really over about 30 years in some cases. And then what we did was we received data from all of them, and so we collated this data and tried to put things into perspective in terms of how do these chemicals fit and behave across these processes. And these are just some examples really showing that it's not a one-size-fits-all, and different chemicals act by different mechanisms,
And hence, there is a need for a battery approach. One assay is not going to address the complexity of the nervous system. Now, we don't think that these are all the assays that are needed, or this is a complete set by any means. We really started with these assays because they are high readiness criteria. And what I mean by this is they're ready for prime time, and if today we had to go out and evaluate assays, we could use these. And they do cover different aspects of the nervous system development. So to complement some of this in vitro system, we are also looking at behavior in complementary models, and we've looked at zebrafish as well as planaria. And the idea here is to try and mimic what's going on with our DNT rodent study. So for instance, we have motor activity, startle response, learning and memory in zebrafish, which are also the components of DNT guideline studies. And so then the idea is creation of a battery. And what you're seeing here from left to right is you're going in increasing order of biological complexity. So on the left, you have high throughput screening, receptor-based assays. These would include things like mitochondrial effects, things on nuclear receptors, effects on those. And then as you move towards your right, you have some of these key events that I talked about, so proliferation, differentiation, migration. And then as you're getting more complex, you're talking about network formation, nervous system connectivity, and behavior. And the idea is to use a combination of these to be able to help us identify what triggers might potentially occur with different chemicals. In parallel, we are currently also investigating 3D mixed models. So for instance, how do neurons crosstalk with microglia? Brain barrier models, blood-brain barrier, CSF barrier, placental barrier, and then incorporating genetic diversity. So to this point, we don't have genetic diversity incorporated in these models. We do recognize the role of genetic diversity and different susceptibility in populations, and so that's what we're working on. So what we then did was, after these assays were created, we created a data integration and visualization tool, what we call DNT Diver, or Developmental Neurotoxicity Data Integration and Visualization Enabling Resource. And DNT Diver is the first integrative analysis tool where you can bring together data from all these different assays, analyze them on using a common metric, and then visualize them so that researchers, regulators that may be interested can actually go and look at their chemical of choice and look at how it performs across these assays. And really, this is an important global resource because, again, the efforts are only as good as its usage pattern is. And so what we are currently working on is integrating DNT Diver with other global resources such as ToxCast and several OECD and EFSA ongoing work. And again, the idea is that if somebody, like a regulator, wanted to see what's going on, there's a one-stop shop where they can see what's happening globally on one integrated website. So this is just an example of what DNT Diver can do. This is a class of flame retardants. On your y-axis are the different flame retardants. Your x-axis has the different assays. And this is a way in which you can start prioritizing classes of compounds. So you've heard a lot about PFAS over these past 2 days. Flame retardants, BPA analogs. It's not going to be possible to run standalone DNT studies on every single compound. So we have to have a way in which we can look at classes, look at the comparative toxicity, and then choose select compounds for our in vivo testing to see how they anchor back with our in vitro findings. And this is really showing the relative potency within a class to prioritize further testing. Now, zooming in further, if you look at one of these assays, what you can do is, this is showing decreasing order of potency. So the compound on the top is the most potent to the least potent on one assay. So for example, neurite outgrowth. The black is showing cell viability or cell death. So what's a dose or concentration at which the cell dies? And then the colored is showing your neurospecific response. So what is it, at what dose is it inhibiting neurite outgrowth? So for instance, rotenone is an example which we call active and selective. And that means that rotenone affects neurite outgrowth, in this case, at a lower concentration from where it kills the cells. And then something like bis-tributyltin oxide is active but non-selective, and that means that it is showing up as active, but it's killing the cells at a similar dose from which it's causing neurodevelopmental change. And so that's how we're distinguishing specific versus non-specific. And then this is basically to determine relative potency within an assay. So with DNT diver, I just put this up for fun. This is the usage statistics. We have approximately 2,600 global hits since Jan 2019, and we really hope that this increases as we try to incorporate more features into diver and expand our data sets. So in terms of some of the questions we can address now with what we have is how do compounds or classes of compounds with unknown DNT potential look across a battery of assays, unique assays versus redundant assays? How do they look within an assay? So chemical structure and biology is not always related, so trying to tease that out. And then how does the data with compounds classified as known DNTs from in vivo studies relate with what we are seeing in vitro? So really trying to anchor our in vitro findings with what's known from animal studies. And we have a great effort that went on. So in case any of you might be interested in knowing more about this, we had an online collection in ToxSci where you can see all the primary publications by all our collaborators as well as the DNT Diver website. So if there's interest, please do take a look at the DNT Diver website and send us feedback as to how we could improve it or what you liked about it. In terms of next steps, what we're planning to do with DNT screening is we did do this as a proof of principle, but really there's no one-stop shop where you can actually go in and have somebody screen for all these assays. So the NTP is trying to develop a method where we can implement this on a more routine basis and hopefully expand Diver to include additional features, including more chemical sets from these global efforts so that they can be plugged in, more assays, and then add a component of human exposure and translation to contextualize our findings with what's going on with human exposures. I already talked about the 3D models and incorporating genetic diversity. And another one is epigenetics. So the question here is pregnant women that are exposed to drugs or chemicals, how do their offspring and future generations, how does their germline change? So that's some of the stuff that we're exploring. Okay, so the next part is the in vivo testing. So here I'm going to talk about three major components, what we're doing in terms of automated behavior, imaging techniques, as well as new biomarkers. So currently what the NTP has is a design to evaluate DNT in conjunction with other toxicities and littermates. So this is different from a standalone developmental neurotoxicity study in the sense that we're using littermates to do, for instance, teratology or subchronic toxicity in parallel. And so what we're doing is we're increasing the power of the study as well as we're better and more effectively using the animals that are coming off of the study in any case. And this is really following general guidelines. So motor activity, motor and sensory function, and then learning and memory, as well as neurohistopathology, clinical observations. And of course, there's challenges with these kinds of studies. They are resource and time intensive. We are not going to be able to do a standalone or a in vivo DNT study on every single compound that comes your way. And there's limited potential for mechanistic understanding of neurodevelopmental disorders if you do just this. And of course, it's subjectivity, and they have limited sensitivity, as many folks would argue. So what we're really asking is, how can we do these in vivo studies more effectively? What can we do to make better use of the animals with our in vivo studies? So one of the issues in talking about clinical observations is clinical observations are typically a primary diagnostic tool in patients, and yet in our rodent evaluations, they're quite subjective depending on who evaluates the animals, And we really look at ClinObs twice a day, so we are really missing the nighttime exposure. And so what we're trying to do in terms of improving this, if my video plays, is do a 24/7 monitoring on these animals where you could evaluate behavior and also look at overlay principles of artificial intelligence. So what you're seeing here is, this is looking at things like rearing, climbing, foraging. And so once you have enough of control animals to understand a pattern in these, you can overlay it with your animal which has a neurodevelopmental developmental neurotoxicity and see how different it is from normal. So that's the idea behind that. The second thing that came to our attention was, well, current behavioral methods are not very sensitive and they don't represent natural behavior. And what we mean by this is when an experimenter is going in and moving animals around, the animals react very differently compared with what they would do in their environment. So what we're trying to do is get to more use of automated home cage monitoring. And what you're seeing here is in the center you have food and you can put like a water bottle, and then the four corners are where the animal can go and explore, and then these are connected up in, you can multiplex them essentially, and the animals can socially house and really be together while they are trying to, while we're trying to look at their behavior. So the idea is there would be minimal to no experimenter interference. You could have real-time data recorded across animals, and they would be housed socially. And so there's more likelihood of them doing what they would do in their natural environment. So another issue is really with how we're doing neurohistopathology. And although the NTP is at the forefront of what can be done with neurohistological sections, representing the whole brain with limited number of sections may not really be the most efficient way of capturing more subtle changes which may occur in neurodevelopmental disorders. And to get around this, what we are trying to do is evaluate the use of imaging tools to capture whole brain structural as well as functional changes. And this is just an example of how imaging can be used in a control group and an autistic group, and what we might be able to do with this. So the last part is exposure assessment and clinical translation. And so we are definitely thinking about how do we relate or contextualize our in vitro as well as in vivo findings with what's going on in humans and what's going on in communities and kids that have these neurodevelopmental disorders. And so for this, really what we're trying to do is incorporate in vitro and vivo extrapolation methods. And what this picture is showing is, so if you have an in vitro outcome or an in vitro toxicity noted, a benchmark concentration, what's the corresponding concentration that you would need in a human or an animal study to elicit that toxicity? Or you can do it in the reverse way where you have human exposure data, and what you can say is what's an equivalent in vitro concentration that I would need, and does that concentration elicit activity or toxicity response? So that's using in vitro and vivo extrapolation. And I'm sure you all have seen this before from Brian. So this is really how we are planning on applying our capabilities in deliberate, integrated, and complementary ways. And so I did try and touch upon several of these in my talk today. So things like data mining and knowledge mining is through our literature reviews and searches through our Office of Health and Translation, as well as other resources that NTP has. As well as using in silico computational tools in vitro and alternative models with DNT diver and other lower throughput but more biologically complex systems. And then short-term in vivo studies through imaging, automated behavior. We are also applying omics technology that I didn't have time to talk about today. And then using in vitro in vivo extrapolation to really contextualize our in vitro findings with what's going on in animal studies as well as humans. And we're in parallel working on refining and reducing our animal testing by doing a lot of work upfront in order to make our animal testing more effective and efficient. And then a really important component is communicating our findings. And we feel like really in this phase, we need to be more active with expanding our findings and communications to clinicians and advocacy groups, understand what their concerns are, and really help with that crosstalk. So in terms of what would we really ultimately hope to accomplish, right? So we'd really like to implement these new tools to advance the science to be able to more effectively capture and identify chemicals with potential for neurodevelopmental disorders and communicate that to our stakeholders so that decisions can be made in a more timely way. We would like to definitely interface and contextualize our findings with public health issues. We do feel like that's a gap which we can effectively bridge with the help of our stakeholders at the other end, which is our clinicians and advocacy groups and folks that are really involved with the environment and with the issues. And then, of course, provide timely public health protection in order to prevent neurodevelopmental disorders. So here's a list of some of our current partners. I think we've been really successful in including a lot of academia, industry, federal partners, and then we're now actively reaching out to clinicians and advocacy groups. And here's our program management team. So Robert Sills is our leadership sponsor for the team. And with that, thank you for your attention, and I'll take questions.
Okay, thanks very much. Anybody have any comments, questions? Bob?
A suggestion. Do you have information to provide to educators, teachers, child care development workers? They need to be aware of some of this research.
Yeah, that's a great question. And in fact, we were just chatting about it this morning, and you heard a talk by Christine. So we were planning on reaching out to her office and creating things like fact sheets that we could, provide, because we do recognize and realize that the conversation with them is going to be very different. So working on it. Thank you for the question.
Okay, Bob?
Great presentation, exciting program. I was just wondering, as you validate the assays and move on to prioritizing chemicals, as you move into mixtures and exposomics, it's almost imperative that you partner with epidemiologists or human studies, because you have to pick the mixtures that actually are occurring in human populations. Do you have any plans to work with CHEER or with ECHO to try to facilitate some of that prioritization?
Yes, absolutely. And part of this NAEHS trans neuro group, that's why that was created, in order for us to have more crosstalk with. So for example, Cindy and John and Kim, they have a lot of access to some of these groups, and I feel like this is a great opportunity for us to crosstalk and really get from what they worked on. So thank you.
Great. Shikmay?
Very quickly. Very nice presentation. I have two questions. One is that there's a lot of focus on developmental neurotoxicity, but have you looked at any other windows, like for example, during like puberty period or even adulthood or aging period, and as well as the difference between the sex?
Yes, that's an excellent question. We have talked about it. So we've done a little bit work on Parkinson's disease, and we plan on expanding to neurodegeneration. For now, we've picked and chosen neurodevelopmental disorders to try and wrap our heads around a strategy. And then I think those things are things that we are having internal conversations about, and the idea would be to develop something in parallel for neurodegeneration, which is a whole different set of
So is
assays.
it possible to be using, like collaborating with other federal agencies, such as one of my recent interest will be the burn pit exposure and the Gulf War I and II veterans exposures. So those have the large registries. So and their exposures are being studied right now. So maybe those will be something that will be explored down the road.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, thanks for that.
Okay, Andy?
Thank you for that wonderful presentation. I think this resource will be valued by the at least autism research community. So a couple of questions. So first of all, I applaud your effort to look at behavior in a more natural setting. I think that's one of the major challenges for this kind of work, at least in neurodevelopmental disorders, because of lack of biomarkers. I guess my other question is that the animal model system you used, the zebrafish, right? I know that it's difficult, for example, to identify aberration that affects social behavior, especially in zebrafish, I guess. And planaria, I don't know anything about social behavior planaria. So I wonder how those things can translate to more complex, development phenotype. And then the other question I have for you is that have you thought about using, because the variant, the rare variants that are found to be associated with many, for autism, for example, several hundred of them, and they all seem to fall into different biochemical pathways. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about, increasing the ability to detect chemicals that toxically could influence these more susceptible population by looking at more specific chemical pathways?
Yes, all those are great questions. I will try and answer them. So in terms of your first question about zebrafish, interestingly, if you look at shoaling behavior in zebrafish, right? So this is looking at, say, developmental exposure and then wait until the fish grow a few months. You see pretty distinct patterns which actually map onto rodent studies where you'd see things like fish either wanting to swim in a shoal along with the others or migrating off. So some aspects of that social component can be captured in fish, and really what we're trying to do here is as a first tier, right? So right now, just to give you a feel for what's going on with developmental neurotoxicity and environmental research is, unless there's some a priori need to look at a compound, so if it's a pesticide or it's a use case, these compounds are not even looked at. So what we're trying to do is, as a first tier, try and at least flag some of these compounds using these methods, right? And then the idea would be to follow it up with more specific studies. So for instance, even using genetically diverse mouse models, as well as cell lines, as well as mouse models, which we're already looking at. So that's, I think that's to answer your question about getting to more specific effects. And then also these animal studies with the automated behavior that we're trying to do, that gives us a feel for, are these animals housing, are they social, or are they going off to a corner without us really intervening or disrupting them? Because when an experimenter goes in, a lot of times it makes us wonder if they are doing an experiment on us or we are doing it on them, right? Because they're known for example, hiding pain. If they're in pain, they view an experimenter as a predator, and so they try and pretend not to show it. So we're trying to get at some of those aspects, of course, recognizing that these are really complex behaviors in children. And so, any suggestions or advice you might have for us, we'll definitely take that into consideration. Thank you. Any other questions?
Jose, did you have a question? Last one.
Sure.
Okay. Yep, press your button.
Great presentation. I just have a quick technical question. When you talk about screening of the NTP chemical library that the investigators can actually have access to, specifically when you do the in vitro testing, is there a more common cell line that folks utilize, neuronal cell line compared to, and I think you also talk about the possibility of incorporating 3D modeling that assume, it could be organoids containing different cell type, neuronal cell types. So currently the screening is mostly on what type of cell lines?
Yeah, that's a great question. So these were done by in vitro as well as complementary models. Actually, Dr. Tangwe ran some of those in his zebrafish studies. So, and in terms of 3D, so organoids, that's currently being run. I think the issue with organoids is it's a slightly different question, right? The throughput is not there, but the biological complexity is there. And so do we really need to screen 91 compounds, or do we need to do things like a class of flame retardants or BPA replacements or PFAS? And those might be 30 or 40 compounds, because the idea is, do some of these rise to the top where these are really bad and then some of them don't show anything? And so that's really been our strategy for things like the 3D, the organoids.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting. And I just also wanted to mention that, our NAEHS Partners Group and our NAEHS Friends have members, representatives from a variety of advocacy groups that would be very interested in this topic. And Dr. Shi, who asked that question, represents Autism Speaks, so I think you should make a connection here. And,
yes, absolutely.
Also build on the investment that we have in the partnership with so many of these groups at the Institute. But thank you for joining us and for sharing your initiative.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we're done with our official work, and thank you to all the staff for amazing presentations. Thank you to everybody around the table for great comments and input. We really, as you already know, we really value the time you spend in preparation before you get here, as well as the free thinking input you give us during the council meeting. And thank you to Pat and Liz for keeping us organized and making our council run. Really appreciate that.
And thank you to Gwen for making all this happen.
And now
can I just quickly, since this was in a different venue, I want to give a lot of appreciation to the guys who over here, the IT people.
Actually, they deserve a round of applause.
From our facility that came over.
Yeah. And our Office of Management staff who did a lot of behind-the-scenes work to make it happen here. We really appreciate that, Chris. Rick, final words are yours.
Just on behalf of Linda, myself, the entire leadership team, again, I want to thank all members of council for your engagement, your input. Many of you have already emailed me and Gwen and Linda. We appreciate that. I also personally am very grateful for your input and your interest in the work, the tribute to Linda yesterday. I know that it meant a lot to her, so thank you for the extra time that you spent to put that together. So without further ado, using the correct base, I will hereby adjourn today's meeting and look forward to seeing you in February.
Okay, thanks to those of you on the phone too. Bye-bye.